All right, let's talk about a serious case of misjustice. Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher facing a murder charge for the alleged killing of a wounded ISIS prisoner. You've heard all about that. Army Green Beret Major Matthew Goldstein facing a murder charge for the alleged killing of a suspected Taliban bomb maker.
And Army First Lieutenant Clint Lorance is currently serving a 19-year sentence after being convicted of 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder for a split-second decision he made on the battlefield in 2012 to fire at 3 Afghan men who were speeding on a motorcycle toward his platoon.
So what do all these cases have in common? What could the President of the United States do about it? And why are our American heroes falling victim now to military prosecutors?
Joining us now is Don Brown. He's the author of the new book, Travesty of Justice, which tells Lieutenant Lorance's story. He's also a member of Lorance's defense team. He served in the U.S. Navy himself as a JAG officer. Don, thanks so much for being here. This story, listen, I was a platoon leader in Iraq. Had to make some of the very same decisions at the split moment. You don't know sometimes civilian from enemy, yet he's charged with murder. Why?
Because the rules of engagement around the summer of 2011 changed, and they became so severely limited that, in fact, unofficial U.S. policy was to place the lives of the Taliban on a higher rung on the totem pole than our own soldiers. In other words, the Obama administration's policy by these restrictive rules of engagement favor the Taliban over Americans. Clint Lorance is an example of that. And if you don't believe it, you can compare and contrast the cases of Bo Bergdahl, and now I heard you guys talking about Assange a moment ago, Bradley Manning, who turned those documents over, got a 35-year sentence. Obama lets him walk free. And when you look at Bergdahl is a traitor to this country. You know, he abandoned his men. We sent dozens of soldiers looking for him. 6 Americans lost their lives. Obama swaps 5 Taliban terrorists to bring Bergdahl back. Bergdahl pleads guilty to desertion, and this left-wing military justice system gives Bergdahl a tap on the wrist, lets him walk. And by contrast, Clint Lorance, who is an American hero who takes his men into battle, is serving a 19-year sentence because his men opened fire on what appeared to be a Taliban suicide attack. And by the way, we later found evidence. Colonel John Maher, the leader of the defense team, found biometrics evidence that the guys that were shot, are actually Taliban bomb makers. And yet Lorance rots in prison at Fort Leavenworth today. I was with him last week. Today is the day we need President Trump to take action. I love you guys, love coming to the show, but I don't want to come back 6 months and lament about this again. We've got a presidential proclamation drafted by the defense team.
Got a copy of it right here.
The president, Mr. President, you have the greatest signature of all presidents that I've ever seen, historically.
All right, we're going to get to that. I'm going to mention that in a moment. I first want to be fair to the Army. Their statement regarding the Lorance case. The Army has nothing further to add in this case. So we're trying to be fair, but basically they're not saying much. And I get there's ongoing legal matters, and sometimes you can't weigh in. But the proclamation I mentioned here, you know, just give us the gist of what you want the president to sign.
The President of the United States, under Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Everybody, every active service member, from the highest 4-star down to the lowest private, works for the President. He is the Commander-in-Chief. And under Article 60 of the UCMJ, not that he even needs this authority, he has the power to disallow or to disprove the sentences and findings for Clint Lorance. We're not asking for...
Is it essentially a pardon, or is it...
The problem with a pardon, and we appreciate what the president did with Christian Saucier, a pardon implies guilt. Clint is guilty of nothing except for being a red-blooded American patriot who put his lives on the line for his country. And by the way, Clint loves his country so much and loves the Army, he still wants to serve. But a disapproval of findings will wipe the whole thing out. This is an order to the Secretary of the Army to reinstate Clint to active duty, to give him back pay now for the 6 years he's rotted in Leavenworth, and also it's an order immediately to the Commandant of the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth to let him go today.
Don, to be clear, he's charged with murder. He was convicted of murder, and who he murdered were members of the enemy on a battlefield. He was sent to fight for this country.
That is correct. They were riding a motorcycle, charging his position. He ordered his men to open fire because they appeared to be bound with explosives.
And they'd already been attacked by suicide bombers.
Yes, they had. This was July 2nd, 2012, to put it in perspective. Just 3 weeks earlier, there had been a suicide bomb just at Kandahar Air Base, killing 22. Sorry,
All right. Wow. No, Don Brown, we appreciate it. The author of Travesty of Justice.
Check it out.
Remarkable case. Check it out.
Hey, God bless Clint. Give him our best, please.
Thanks for what you guys are doing. God bless you both.
It's a tough job, and he did it for our nation.